Mark Bunyan, you're here to discuss the founding of the Pink Singers 35 years ago. I thought I was here to plug my Mark Bunyan and Friends gigs at the Loft at the Brasserie Toulouse-Lautrec on the last Wednesday of every month.
I don't know anything about them.
Well, I do these gigs at the Brasserie Toulouse.
Yes, I'm sure you do, but we're more interested in 35 years ago.
I mean, I'm always happy to talk about the Pink Singers if you're the co-founder of the oldest LGBTQ choir in Europe. Though I would have to say I can't take total credit for it. You were slightly reluctant at the time. Yes, but mainly because I'd never run a choir. And in 1983, my career as a writer and cabaret performer looked as though it was taking off.
Had you been doing that long?
I'd written my first gay songs in 1976, which eventually led to gigs. I was, I believe, the first professional out gay cabaret performer in the UK.
So by 1983...
Well, I've been doing solo shows, things after the Pride marches, and then Edinburgh in 80, 81, 82, Stockholm, New York, San Francisco, and in September 1982, a youth theatre piece I'd written called Just Good Friends, which was about the friendship between a gay man and a straight woman over 50 years, had been a 3-week sold-out success at the Cockpit Theatre. I was hot.
Pink Singers?
Well, the Saturday after Just Good Friends closed, Michael Mason, co-editor of Capital Gay, invited my partner Andrew and I to lunch with Armistead Morpeth.
You're rambling. We want to talk about the Pink Singers.
But we did.
What?
We did talk about what became the Pink Singers. I think that was the first time that Michael put the idea to me that London needed a gay choir, a mixed gay choir. I thought it was a wonderful idea and really wanted it to happen, but at that point I really didn't know whether I'd sort of have the time.
But to cut a long story short, you found the time.
Well, there was a group of men that just kept on at me. Michael Mason, Graham McKerrow, the co-editor of Capital Gay, and of course Brian Kennedy, who was then the editor of the gay section of City Limits magazine and Kennedy's Gay Guide to London. Wherever I went, they were there. You know, I'd open the wardrobe door and out would come Brian saying, "What about the gay choir?"
And eventually
I gave in. Despite the fact that I had no experience and less confidence, I said I would do it for exactly 3 months.
how did you get the members?
The gay journalism mafia put out the call.
And the first meeting was at Oval House.
On April 7th, 1983, 29 people turned up, plus Brian, myself, and I believe the pianist was Jeff Elborn.
Who were they all?
It was a very mixed bunch, more men than women. On that point, you have to understand that the 70s had been a major time of separatism in the gay movement, which was completely understandable. The women's movement was hugely important, and many lesbians identified far more with the problems that society was causing them because of their gender than because of their sexuality. At the same time, it was still brave for anyone to stand up and, by being in the choir, identify themselves publicly as gay. I remember there were 2 guys who were very much men in cardigans from Hampstead, who got rather looked down on by some of the more radical people. But I was certainly aware how much courage it took at that time to do anything that showed them outside the closet.
What did you sing?
Well, we started with a round, the Frère Jacques, with new words. Homosexual, homosexual, lesbian, lesbian, we are homosexual, we are homosexual, we are homosexual, we are homosexual. There was a slight problem that some of the women didn't want to be stereotyped into singing soprano or even alto, but I did eventually persuade them that if the choir was to have a full-bodied sound, there were certain parts for which the men that we had simply didn't have the equipment, with the exception of a bloke called Danny, who was a great soprano.
Was that all that you sang?
No, we also worked on a composition of mine that I'd written for the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence in San Francisco, called The Veiny, from the Castilian Vespers.
And so you and Brian kept it going for 3 months?
Yes, and my memory is that we all had a really good time. But on the afternoon that I told everyone was going to be my last, a man came up at the beginning of the rehearsal and told me that he'd just moved up to London from, I think, Salisbury, where he'd been running a choir, and would it be possible for him to conduct a number? And I said, better than that. It was, of course, Robert Hugill, who is the person who really started pulling the Pinkies together into what it has become.
So you can't really take much credit for it?
I can definitely say that if I hadn't done what I did with Brian, the Pinkies would not be celebrating 35 years. It is something that I'm incredibly proud of, and I just wish I could be there for our party, and that Brian Kennedy was able to see what he started.
Mark Bunyan, thank you very much indeed.
Don't I get to plug my Mark Bunyan and Friends gigs at the Brasserie Toulouse-Lautrec on the last Wednesday of every month?